All right, Tim Clauson. This is such a cool deal, and it's so cool to think about Bryan got to race at the Indy 500. Now we're going to bring your midgets and your guys and the USAC guys here. You were so cool last week when I wrote that story. You sent me an immediate text. You tell them if they need midgets, I'll come help. But I think Bryan really understood when he got to come here, it opened up a whole new world and a whole new fan base. And I think that's the same thing he could do for the IndyCar guys.
Oh, yeah, no, absolutely. And, Bryan, when he came here in 2012, he really took the responsibility of bridging the gap with short track and grassroots and dirt racing. And you were always a big proponent of it and pushed it and got Randy to get involved and really was probably the catalyst of this happening. The thing with Bryan is he was just a racer. Bottom line is he didn't, if it was stock cars, Indy cars, midget, sprint cars, it didn't matter. He just loved to drive race cars. And so to get to do this, in his honor, with his name attached to it, to have this opportunity for, sprint car drivers, midget drivers, stock car drivers, and Indy car drivers if they want to come do this is just spectacular.
The most amazing thing was I'm interviewing Tim on NBC TV live during qualifying. Bryan's starting his fourth lap. It's going to put him in the middle of the fourth row of the Indy 500. And something happens, he hits the wall, and he lost his confidence, and then they said you can't run fast anymore, we're going to have parts and stuff like that. But he showed me right then he was just starting to get comfortable with this thing. You take Justin Grant, some of these guys, if we got them the right engineer, they could do the same thing.
Oh, yeah, there's absolutely no reason any one of those kids couldn't come out here with the right people. And really, Andy and Sarah in 2012 approached him being here just beautifully. The garage was it was a dirt car garage. It had midget pictures all over it, and they put him in a really comfortable place, and it showed all week. I think
he was in the top 10 all week.
All week long. Him and Joseph were. I think they were in the top 5 a lot of the week too, and they did such a spectacular job of doing that. And and they did crash and not have an experience. I don't think Bryan really understood why he crashed because it felt exactly the same. But he left here going, I know we can be fast here. And 2015 was a struggle.
A wheel fell off going out of the pits on one of them deals.
Yeah, it was.
I'd build your confidence.
It was a struggle, but 2016 when he came back with Dale Coyne and that group, they were competitive, and did they have a car to win? No, but he got to run competitive laps, and when he left here that day,
and went to Kokomo and won the feature.
Went to Kokomo, won the feature. He was excited about coming back, and then really I think starting that progress of maybe someday having a shot to win the Indy 500.
You know what? I was talking to Hinchcliffe and Ryan Hunter-Reay and Marco and they're all like, well, we don't want to run with Kyle Larson and Stenhouse and those guys. They're too good. I said, no, we'll get you guys out there by yourselves. I said, Tim Clauson's already called. They'll help you. But a few years ago, I called Bryan on you, and you guys were going to help Newgarden run the Chili Bowl, which would have been spectacular because there's so many fans out there, open wheel fans, that don't watch IndyCar racing because they don't have anybody to cheer for. These are the guys they could cheer for instantly. So, to me, what will your plan be for this race? Will you run couple extra cars if these guys ask you to help, or what do you think?
Oh yeah, absolutely. We've got we do have 3 primary drivers that are battling for a championship.
So they're in.
Those guys are in. Ricky, Ricky said here that Ricky's got he's got a car that just sits in my shop for whenever he wants it, and we had come to the agreement, shortly after Bryan, that no matter what, I'd always own a car for him, and whether it's Chili Bowl, one race, or whatever we can put together, we're going to do it. So I've got 4 cars spoken for. We've got 2 others that are sitting there, and my expectation would be to fill those seats and to make this just the absolute biggest event we can.
I tell you what, they got 5,000 seats. I told Stewart the other day, I said, if you lose 20 pounds and we can still get you in a midget, you get Stewart, Stenhouse, Kyle Larson, Justin Grant, all these USAC guys, they may have to add 5,000 more seats.
Oh, absolutely. It will be a spectacular race. What they did out here that day 2 years ago, I was just telling the story, Tony and Bryan, they told go out, you stay at one end of the track, you stay at the other, and within 3 laps, they were throwing some pretty mean sliders at each other, and somebody got smart and threw the checkered flag. But it kind of showed then. And Bryan came in after that. He goes, "We could race on this right here, and it would be pretty good." And so, I expect with the Reece Connor up here putting the track together, everybody that's involved in the support we're going to have, it will be a spectacular event.
All right, Tim Clauson, this right here, folks, represents what racing's all about. 10, 12 years ago, I'm at Eldora with Norman Bubby Jones, one of the great sprint car drivers of all time, and he's helping this Ricky Stenhouse kid. And I said, "Jones, what do you make of the Stenhouse kid?" He says, "Well, if he lives to be 20, I think he's going to be a hell of a race driver." So not only has he made it to past 20, he has become a hell of a race driver, full-time NASCAR driver. But the great thing about Stenhouse is Chili Bowl. Anytime he gets a chance to run a midget sprint car, silver crown car, he's there. He's coming to this thing in September that we're going to have here in Indianapolis. I don't think you'll ever get rid of those roots. You're kind of an old school throwback guy.
I love it. I think back to some of my most fun years of racing was probably in 2007. Just watching Bub walk around, smoke some cigarettes, set up some cars, and just
calm you down.
He would. I mean, he would never get excited, never get mad. He would just kind of be chill the whole time. Rode around in the van with him. I think I got secondhand smoke. My lungs were getting used up in 2007, but having him to be a part of my career just a little bit, even though he wasn't the crew chief on my car at the time. I think he was crew chief on Levi's car, but just to have all that knowledge and that history just walking around you was really special. Like I said, one of my most fun years of racing was being around here in Indianapolis and Brownsburg, and just really kind of capturing what this town's about. And now I get to race a midget here in the Speedway. It'll be pretty fun.
You ever talk to your NASCAR competitors and they always say, "Stenhouse, what's wrong with you? Why do you keep getting in them sprint cars and dirt cars and stuff?"
Every week.
Do they not understand?
They don't understand. It's they don't understand at all. They're like, "I don't understand why you'd get in those race cars." And I'm like, "Well, maybe if you'd just come drive one, you'd understand." And I got Jack to come out to the World of Outlaw event at Charlotte. It had been the first Outlaw.
Jack Roush?
Oh yeah, Jack Roush came out to the event, and it had been the first Outlaw race that I had ran in probably almost 10 years. And I got him to come out, and when he left, he said, "I understand why you like this." So that was cool to have him a part, being able to show up there. I tried to tell him, he keeps trying to tell me he wants to take me up in his P51 Mustangs.
No, he's much better in a sprint car.
So he keeps trying to take me up in there, and I told him, "Jack, I will ride with you in that airplane if you ride with me in a 2-seater sprint car." But he still hasn't done it.
That's the best trade-off I've ever. Okay, so the other thing that's kind of cool is we know when we go to the Chili Bowl what an ovation you get, and Stewart and Kyle and all that, because these people get it, man. You guys are in the top series in the world NASCAR, but your roots are still in open wheel grass, the thing that got you started. And I don't think until you take somebody to a midget sprint car race on the dirt, everybody I've ever taken come back and gone, "That's the most exciting thing I've ever seen."
Oh, it's by far. People ask me, I go all around the country, and fans ask questions, and they're like, "Hey, what's your favorite race car to drive?" And honestly, a USAC midget is by far, like on a 3/8 mile dirt track, a midget is by far my favorite car I've ever driven and raced. And I feel like they put on a great show no matter what the track is, and I think that's the special thing about USAC dirt track racing is these fans, if they would just look around, they've got these races in their backyard, and each and every week all across the country. And so for me, that's the fun thing about it. I look at what Kyle does. He definitely races a lot more than I do. I'd like to change that. I'm trying to get everything in line so that my dad can keep me a sprint car, sitting there waiting and ready. I made my Outlaw guys take one of our cars out, and so I could run at Charlotte. But then I looked at all the work that they were having to do. I was like, man, I don't really want to put them through that. They're trying to, obviously have Sheldon there racing for a championship and
Sure.
And wins, which they're doing an awesome job this year. But I'm trying to get my things in line. The Clauson Marshall racing team, they obviously have my NOS midget sitting there ready.
It just sits there waiting on you, brother.
Just waiting on me. And so I got to get my sprint car ready to go too.
All right, well, I'll tell you what. You're the reason people like auto racing, because you step out of your comfort zone and you go run whatever there's got four wheels.
I feel uncomfortable when I get in a sprint car. It's been a long time. I felt so
not
rusty.
that uncomfortable.
I felt so rusty when it come to racing. I was like, man, I don't remember the dust being this bad. I can't even hardly see the wall. But then I watch Sheldon every night just, pound the fence and act like it's nothing. So I got to work back up to that, but I'm definitely glad I got him driving my car.
All right, brother. Ricky Stenhouse, one of the guys that we like to cheer for in all kinds of racing divisions. Okay, people say, how are you going to build a dirt car track inside the third turn of the Indianapolis Motor Speedway? It's not big enough. Where are you going to find good dirt? Who the hell knows how to prepare a dirt track? Reece O'Connor, the owner, general manager, promoter, and track aficionado at Kokomo Speedway, one of our favorite tracks in the Midwest. When you got this idea, when this idea came up, were you a glad volunteer, or did they call you?
A little of both. We were in a USAC meeting and the topic come up, and I was more than happy to step in. And we've always had a good relationship with the USAC folks, and so I'm more than happy to step up. So a little of both, volunteer, and they reached out to me a little bit, I guess.
Everybody goes to Kokomo's like, there's really a cushion there most of the night, because when I was racing midgets back in the 70s, it was flat. Now you guys got a bank, and it really looks like a cool midget track. How do you prepare it with the parameters you got, and where do you get your clay?
We get the clay wherever we can. Sometimes that's one of the struggles we have, is finding good clay. And luckily down here, this deal, we found good clay close. But as far as preparations, we just try and get a lot of moisture in it and let them build a cushion. And sprint cars and midgets, they love a cushion. And that's there's no secret to it. That's just basically it. You try and give them a couple lanes, and that's about it.
Reece, what's your idea about how wide will it be? How much bank in the corner? Do you have that set in stone yet?
Yeah, we do. It's going to be a progressive bank to be flat on the bottom. The middle will be about 6 degrees and 12 to 14 degrees up by the wall, and that's we're going to get them guys up by that wall running.
Okay, we're talking to Hinchcliffe and the Indy guys last week in Elkhart Lake about, you guys want to do this, and to a man, they all want to do it. So, like Roger Penske's not going to let Will Power and Joseph do it, but a guy like Marco, Hinch wants to do it. Hinch says, are there any walls? I said, nope, no walls. You'll just slide over the bank.
No, there's going to be a concrete wall.
Sorry, Hinch, I lied.
and I'll be honest, Robin, I seen that interview and I thought, well, Robin didn't get that one right, but there's going to be a wall. But just tell him to get right next to it, and it won't hurt as bad when he hits it.
Well, I told him, I said, you're not going to hit it going 230 like you did a couple years ago. You'll be fine.
Yeah, he'll be fine. I don't know what the speeds will be here, but they're going to be pretty good, 80, 90 mile an hour. It'll be plenty fast and plenty racy, but yeah.
All right. Well, Indiana Sprint Week at Kokomo, July 20th. I'm taking a couple of big-time IndyCar executives up there who've never seen a sprint race. We may have more than one of these dirt races before it's all said and done. USAC's short track racing in this day and age. Justin Grant fills the bill. Midget, sprints, Silver Crowns. Kid wins a lot of races. Sure, he'd like to run the Indy 500 someday, but what about this whole deal here? Because racing in Indianapolis you want to race in Indianapolis someday, but you want to be on the big track. This is a good start.
Yeah, absolutely. We all dream about racing at the Speedway, and this is a great chance to do it. It might not be on the big track, but get a chance to showcase what we do at a place that we all want to be, and I think that's awesome.
Bryan Clauson had this great attitude after went to NASCAR, got to run the Indy 500 thanks to Randy Bernard. Then he said, you know what, I probably am never going to be a full-time guy in any series, but if I can keep winning races in USAC, I can make a good living. You're still really young. Is it in the back of your mind, I want to be an Indy 500 driver, or is life good the way it is?
We all want to be an Indy 500 driver, but you win enough USAC races and race hard enough and frequently enough, you can make a living. And I've got a wife and kids, and it pays the bills, and we get by. And we'd all love to be making more money. Everybody would, but USAC racing's awesome, and I love to be a part of it, and I love that that's what I get to do for work.
Okay, I want you. This is directed to Marco Andretti, Ryan Hunter-Reay, Gabby Chaves, James Hinchcliffe. What can they expect?
It's going to be a little dustier than what you're used to. Make sure your shield's sealed up good. But no, it'd be a blast if you guys come do it. You'll have a great time, and I'm sure everybody will kind of point you in the right direction and help you out.
Do you remember when you first slid a midget or sprint car in the dirt and you're trying? But like Marco, these guys can go into a corner in Indy at 230 and the thing can get loose. I think they'll adapt quicker than they think.
Oh yeah, I don't think bravery is going to be an issue for any of those guys. Yeah, they're used to going a lot faster faster with some pretty high stakes. So I think they'll be fine. You know, those guys are obviously talented race car drivers, and just be just a little different. Take them a little bit to get used to, but I'm sure as soon as they do, they'll be right there.
I just think, you know yourself, I had Newgarden lined up with Bryan Clauson 4 years ago at the Chili Bowl, and it didn't fall through. Newgarden wants to do it really bad too. But I think these guys understand a whole new group of people might start following them after watching them take a step out of their comfort zone.
Yeah, it's probably true. You know, it seems like we have a really good following and you know, good crowd turnouts everywhere. And I know, you know, I'd heard that it reflected a lot when Bryan raced here, that the attendance was up and people were really excited about it. And so yeah, it's probably, you know, probably be great for them and for from a marketing standpoint on their side of things. And it'd be great for us too, drag some of their fans out to what we do and let some of our fans see them, and it'd be good for everybody.
Okay, last thing. I told Hinch, I said, I'm going to have you follow Justin Grant around the first couple laps. He's going to show you the groove and everything. Do me one favor. Bury him and knock his tear-offs off the very first hot lap.
We can do that.
Okay. Thanks, Justin.